back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here today to talk to you about some TBRs. September is always a really busy month for readathons, and traditionally I love participating in some of the readathons that happen in September. So I wanted to do a TBR video. It's an optimistic TBR because, as you probably know if you've seen my latest videos, I had a baby recently. So reading is definitely not as easy nowadays because it really depends whether he's napping or not. And when he is, great, I can read. When he's not, it's a bit more difficult. So I'm gonna try my best. Also, if you hear burbling noises in the background, that is the baby. I am rocking him and he's like kind of on the brink of sleep. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, basically I am hoping to read for 2 readathons in September. The first of the readathons is run by Thomas from SFF 180. I'll link his video below for this year's readathon and also for the first year of it, where the challenges that I'm going to be participating in come from. And his readathon is Space Opera September, which lasts for the whole month of September. And of course, it is about reading space operas. And space operas are kind of my favourite sci-fi genre, I would say. I tend to mostly read space operas if I'm going to read a sci-fi book. And so this definitely appealed to me. It's one I've done before and I've enjoyed doing. So I'm hoping to read a couple of things for that, and I'll tell you about them in a minute. The other one that I'm going to be participating in is the Magical Readathon, which is by Book Roast. I'll link her video down below where she explains it. This year it has quite a few modifications and changes. She's rebranded the whole thing, and I have to say that the production value of her video and of Thomas's video were just fabulous this year. Like, honest to God, they have really upped the game for readathons and just production value for videos and booktube in general, because they're both awesome and they both have done a really cool job with their kind of introduction into their worlds and their readathons. So if you haven't actually watched the videos, I would highly recommend going and checking out both of the videos. I actually voice acted in Thomas's one. Voice acted. I'm not an actress by any means, any stretch of the imagination, but I did a little bit of a voiceover for his one, so I wonder if you can figure out who I am.
Probably very easy, I'm the British one.
But anyway, yes, what am I talking about? Let's talk about the TBR for them. I'm gonna be doing a couple of challenges from each. I'm also going to be using some of the books to double up challenges from each of the readathons. So they don't double up within the readathon, but they do double up with the other readathon to tick off a challenge there, if that makes sense. I basically tried to complete the readathon in the easiest way for me, and the most feasible way for me, with the fewest number of books, but also give myself options. So it's a little bit convoluted, but I'm hoping that it will work, and I'm excited to tell you guys kind of what I'm planning to do. For Space Opera September, the aim is just to read between 1 and 4 books for it. Of course, you can read more, you can read less, and they all count towards it, so it doesn't really matter. But if you read 4 books, then you can level all the way up to a Fleet Admiral. I am going to try and read 3 books, I think, for Space Opera September, so that would get me to Wing Commander. Now, I have done this readathon before, so technically I think I'm already a rank, but I cannot for the life of me remember what I got up to last time, so I'm just going to start over. And the way that I'm doing it is I'm actually following the challenges from the very first year of Space Opera September, which I will put the link to the video for. And I'm doing some of the challenges, which will be the Federation challenges. So I am going to be trying to read 2 space operas by women. And I've got 2 picks for this. So the first one that I've chosen to read is this one, A Matter of Oaths by Helen S. Wright. Now, this one I picked up quite a long time ago when I went up to London, so it must have been years and years ago now, because the last time I went to London was years and years ago. And I picked this one up because it had a blurb by Becky Chambers and it sounded really interesting. It's a space opera because it's about a commander of a patrol ship, and it's about a guy who's been identity wiped who joins the ship, trying to kind of reinvent himself and settle in. It seems like things are going well, but apparently there is kind of an assassin who is chasing after him. So it does sound like it could be quite a dramatic one. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I've been meaning to read this for so long, and I'm sure that I have put it in multiple TBRs before and I just haven't got to it, and the cover is stunning. Yeah, I really want to read this, and I don't know why I've been putting it off, but I'm hoping this readathon pushes me to do so, to pick it up and actually get into it. So that's the plan. That's book number 1. And this one actually I'm going to use also for a challenge in the Magical Readathon. One of the challenges in the Magical Readathon is to read a standalone book, and I do believe that this one is a standalone. So if I manage to read this, it will not only tick off half of one of the challenges for Space Opera September, because I need to read 2 books by women, but also it will tick off the standalone challenge for the Magical Readathon. So fingers crossed I can read this and it will tick off both of those things with one hit. Let's see how we go. The second book by a woman who writes space opera is this one, There Before the Chaos by KB Waggers or Waggers. I have heard really good things about this series in general. It seems like a lot of people like it. I think all 3 books in the series are already out, so I'm definitely keen to give this a try. And this one apparently follows a character who is called Hale Bristol, a runaway princess, an interplanetary gunrunner, and an empress of Idrana. And this person is apparently forced into the middle of a military political crisis which is kind of spanning the galaxy, and I guess they're trying to smooth over things and create peace, but obviously with a intergalactic military issue going on, it could be an interesting one. So I'm looking forward to this. Like I say, I've heard really good things about this author and I haven't read any of her work yet, so I'm pretty keen to do so, and I will let you know how I find it, what I think of it. Hopefully I like it. We'll see. So if I do manage to complete both of those, that will tick off one of the challenges for Space Opera September. It will also have got me up to pilot rank, because you start as Space Cadet for 1 book, then you get pilot, and then after that you get Wing Commander for 3 books. So for the 3rd one, to get me to Wing Commander, I would like to read a book that is published before I was born. So for that one, I have decided to go with this, Consider Phlebas or Phlebar, I am never sure how you say it, by Ian M. Banks. This one, again, it's another one that's been on my TBRs and been one that I've been intending to read for a while, and I just haven't got to it. It sounds like it's, again, a pretty big kind of multi-planetary culture war going on. So I'm intrigued about it. It says it's a cosmic conflict and an individual crusade. There's a barren world and all sorts of crazy stuff going on with mercenaries, humans, machines, and more, I'm sure. So I think this is the first one in a really quite long series, actually. I don't know an awful lot about it, but I have heard good things about this author and series in general, and I know a lot of people say that this is worth reading, so I'm hopeful that I'll like it, but I'm a little more skeptical on this one than potentially the other 2. I do tend to find sci-fis can be a bit heavy going sometimes for me, and this one sounds a little bit more heavy than the previous 2, so we'll see how I get on with it, but I'm definitely keen to give it a try. So let me know if you read any of these 3 down below, and if I manage to complete this, it will tick off that Before I Was Born, because I think this was originally published in the 80s. It was first published in 87 and I was not born till 94, so it's definitely before I was born, and I'm quite excited to give it a try at long last. Now, those 3 books are kind of chunky. They're all around 400 to 500 pages, like they're between those 2 numbers. So I'm not sure how many of the other books I'm going to get to, but those are the ones that I'm planning for Space Opera September. And as I say, one of them will also tick off a prompt for the Magical Readathon. However, I couldn't make the others fit any of the other Magical Readathon prompts. So what I've done instead is I picked a couple more books for the Magical Readathon, and I'm hopeful that they will be fun and that I can get to them. And I've chosen to go mostly with middle grade or young adult books, just because they're a bit easier to read, a bit quicker generally for me to get into, and they've been sitting on my shelves waiting for a while, and also they seem to fit the prompts for the Magical Readathon quite well. So for the Magical Readathon, what you have to do this year is to create a new character. And for that character, there are 3 challenges which you can complete at any time between now and April next year. So I'm not going to be focusing on those 3 challenges in this readathon. I'm going to leave them for another time, as we've got so long. Now, in the month of September, I'm going to just be focusing on the novice path, which is just 7 prompts which all relate to going around the novice path on a map and choosing books to read them to complete the novice path. Now, you only need to read 2 to actually complete the novice path. So if I manage to read A Matter of Oaths for the standalone, that will already have been half of this readathon ticked off. So technically I only need to do 1 more. However, I have got a couple of options for other prompts just based on mood reading and being able to have some flexibility and see how I do. If I manage to do better than I think, then great. If not, also fine. So the first one is to read a book with a map in it. I decided I would go with this one, which is called Mirren's Gift by Fiona McIntosh. It is a mass market paperback, so it's a bit small, and I quite enjoy reading a mass market paperback just because they are very easy, very practical to read, and I want to kind of try and get through some of the mass market paperbacks on my shelves and see whether they're series or authors that I actually want to keep and want to continue with. I picked up loads of mass market paperbacks a good few years ago when I was just going around London and going to loads of secondhand bookshops all the time, and I absolutely loved doing that. Then I ended up with loads and loads and loads of mass market paperbacks that I never actually read. So I'm trying to kind of make up for that and get through some of them. And it's about a young woman called Mirren who is accused of witchcraft. There is said map, in case you are wondering. Very simple map. I'm sure I've got books with better maps than this, but this was the first one that kind of took my attention, that I was interested in reading. It's a little bit witchy, a little bit different, and I'm intrigued, so we'll see. The next challenge was to read a book that keeps tempting me. Now, there were a lot of options on my shelves, but as I said before, I tried to go with a lot of younger reads, like YA middle grade reads for this readathon, just so that I can get through them a bit easier, so that I kind of have like a fresh, easy reading experience with each book. And yeah, fingers crossed that will work. So the book that I've chosen for this, with that in mind, is Skullduggery Pleasant, which is the first book in the series, Derek Landy. I've not read any of this series. I know my brother read a couple of them, I'm not sure how many, and I know friends who've read this series and enjoyed it when they were younger. Obviously, I missed the bandwagon when I was younger, but I'm fairly confident that I will like it because I've just heard good things from a lot of people. It says that it's about a horror writer who dies, and then Stephanie learns that when he wrote horror, it maybe wasn't actually fiction, and there's a skeleton who is kind of going to help this young woman try and investigate exactly what was going on with these stories that this author wrote about and whether they were real or not. So it sounds pretty funny, pretty odd, and definitely like my kind of thing. So that's the book that I am going to go with for the prompt of what keeps tempting you. Next up, the other challenge I'm going to potentially focus on is reading a 5-star prediction. So this was a little bit harder from the kids' books, but one of the kids' books that I have on my shelf is this one, A Clock of Stars, which is The Shadow Moth by Francesca Gibbons, and it's illustrated by Chris Riddell. And I absolutely love Chris Riddell's illustrations. I think they're fabulous. I've heard really good things about this book in general. I actually watched an interview with the author where she was talking about it. It sounded really fun and whimsical and just a lot of easy reading. So I'm going to go with this as my 5-star prediction because I'm hoping that it will be like the Morrigan Grow series, where I went into it not expecting to completely love it and I came out of it utterly in love. And like that was a middle grade, so I'm hopeful that this might have a similar effect, or at least be a really good read. So this is my 5-star prediction and I'm excited to give it a try. And then the final one that I am going to attempt to either dip into or challenge myself with is to read a book that has a school setting, and for that one again I've chosen a middle grade and it's called Alessa in Atlantis, The Forbidden Vial, and this is about a girl who falls into the lost city of Atlantis. And when she's down there, she joins a school, the Atlantide School, in order to try and find out about her family, who apparently had ties to the lost city of Atlantis. So those are all of the books that I'm planning to read for the Magical Readathon and for Space Opera September. As I say, I really don't know how I'm going to get on, but I only need to read the 3 for Space Opera September because I'm only trying to get to Wing Commander rank. And then for the Magical Readathon, I'm only needing to read 2 to pass the Novice Path, which I really hope I do because I really want to continue on with this readathon. It sounds so cool, and it just carries on for like up until April next year, and then there's another bit and another bit, and then we go to the university, and it sounds really, really cool. So yeah, I'm excited to hopefully kind of make good progress with both of these, and I will, fingers crossed, be able to complete at least the 3 books for space opera, the 2, one of which will be the same, for Magical Readathon. As a side note, I am going to go for Iltirian as my race for the Magical Readathon, which I think sounds like it's going to be pretty cool. They're like these creatures who live under Dark Meadow, and they are trying to go and collect texts from around the world and bring them back and kind of guard this library, which is all these hidden texts. It sounds really, really cool. I love what Book Roast has done with all these amazing artwork, amazing kind of character guides, new world, new races. It's just, it all sounds so cool. So I'm really, really excited to kind of participate and support it, and hopefully love reading the books as well. I think also just having a newborn, it's really good to have something to focus on, which isn't just like nappy changes and breastfeeding and just newborn life. So I'm really hoping that whilst my baby is snoozing away, I will be able to read some of these books, and we'll see how we get on. Wish me luck. Let me know if you're actually going to be participating in either of these readathons or any other readathons, because I know there's quite a few others. I think there's like Bookopoly, there's a demon readathon that I saw on Twitter as well, a couple of other things around. So do let me know in the comments, what are you participating in for September, if you're participating in any readathons. Have you read any of the books I'm going to be reading? And if so, which ones would you recommend? Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye guys.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.